All right, so today is actually really nice. I like this review today. I have the Rival RS100s Professional Sparring Gloves. I got these in 16 ounces. Now the 16-ounce indicator is going to be embroidered in this spot right here. I'm not sure if I got it in the right angle so you guys don't see that it's upside down or anything, but it's going to be embroidered right here, which I absolutely love. I love that about this glove, the fact that it's an embroidered 16-ounce indicator. They also have the 16-ounce indicator right here. Where are you? Yep, 16-ounce right here. And also the fact that it is made in China on the tag is also right here. Interesting, interesting. I'm not really shocked because this glove is a synthetic leather glove. But yeah, I will weigh these because they're supposed to be 16 ounces. So let's see how much they actually come in as. And let's go. I am going to, let's see. All right, so this one's 15.38. And this one is 15.24. So they're under, and I knew they were under already. I just forgot how much they were under by. I did notice the difference as soon as I put my hands in the gloves. I did have a understanding that the gloves did feel a little bit light, but they're close to the weight towards each other, so it's not a humongous deal, but it is a little bit low. I think anything that's underweight by a half an ounce or over is a little bit on the low side, so I'll just keep that in mind for people that, you know, that's not the case for everybody. I've seen many reviews on these gloves, and not everybody has that same problem. But me, you know, they're a little light, so that being said, it is what it is. All right, so in terms of the leather, like I said before, it's a synthetic leather, which is obviously that this leather is not actual real leather. It's not animal. It's a synthetic leather. Now, they do a really good job with this leather. And what I mean by that is that it has a good texture. If you can actually see it, it has a really good texture, and it's really tough. And it has just a good feel. Like, I have no problem with this being synthetic. I'm always someone who kind of, you know, veers away from the synthetic leather because I'd much rather have actual leather. So in terms of, you know, the thickness of it, you're probably not going to get it. Synthetic leather is durable in a lot of ways, but this is pretty thin. It's not like that. It doesn't give you that thick feel that actual leather glove gives you. Let me see if I can pinch it. See how thin that looks. So it has that, but in terms of durability, I don't feel like it has any issues whatsoever because I've been using them for a good amount of time, and so far I haven't seen much of, you know, anything happen to these gloves. They're kind of a tank. When it comes to the liner, you know, what they say on their site is that it's a soft, foamy cloth liner, right? You know, they always try to make it seem, you know, with fancy words and things like that, that they're whatever it is, that it's the best. But excuse me, ultimately, it feels like a tricot liner, and that's kind of what I feel like here. It's a soft liner. You know, I would say that it could get a little warm, but I didn't have that experience with this glove. It's probably because of other reasons that I'll get into later in this video. Now, when it comes to the actual foam, it's a layered foam construction. I do not know what the foam is. I've seen online different things. I've seen that it's a 3-layer EVA foam, but I'm not sure what the foam is, and I'm not going to actually go ahead and tell you what it is because I'm not sure exactly what it is. I will say it's actually decently thick. If you see this right here, there's actually a lot of thickness here on this side of on the punch surface of the glove. A good amount of thickness there. I'll talk about the actual feeling of the foam ultimately at, you know, towards probably the end of the video. But yeah, I would say that, you know, the foam is a multi-layer foam, obviously, but I don't know exactly what it is. If it's a polyurethane foam, if it's EVA foam or anything like that. From what I've read, it's possibly 3 layers of EVA, but I'm not sure necessarily, so don't quote me on that 100%. All right, as for the style of the glove, I absolutely love the style of these gloves. Now, I'm a big fan of the fact that they have this nice, cool silver metallic-y look to the leather, to the glove itself. I love the fact that this is, you know, out of all the rival gloves, I actually prefer the look of this glove, and I've always preferred the look of this glove. Now, in terms of things like this logo here, I actually like the logo on the PU leather, the synthetic leather, because in my opinion, I think it sticks onto that a lot better than it would stick onto actual leather glove. And it seems pretty durable. You know, I've had a lot of rival gloves that automatically it starts to chip away and starts to crack pretty much instantly. This is not the case for this glove. It has a really, really good here in the back here. This nice kind of rubbery logo here. I wouldn't say logo, but it tells you it's a Rival Professional 100 Series glove. And on the bottom here is an embroidered RS100 Sparring Glove. I definitely love that. And I love this as well because even though it's a little bit raised, it's covered nicely and smoothed out on the bottom here, so it doesn't feel like you're getting, you know, cut or scraped or anything like that. As you can see right here, it says Ergonomic True-Fist Construction. This right here, I know a lot of gloves like to give you a lot of stuff, a lot of BS, you know, a lot, not BS, but they like to hype up a lot of their words. This is very true, and I'll get to that later. I do like the Rival logo here on the fingertip compartment here. And ultimately, we have a mesh palm that I would also get into in quite a bit. This is a nice thumb. The thumb isn't split or have all these different designs like thumbs do normally have nowadays. This is just a straight up nice, decently sized big thumb. I would call it a bigger thumb. But yeah, ultimately a really nice glove. The red and silver really look good to me in my opinion, so I keep it that way. I think it was a really good choice. So that being said, I will go into the wrist padding area and we'll talk about how I believe this is probably one of the better wrists out there. It's not too thick, even though it does feel that it feels that thick when you, it looks that thick. I wouldn't say it feels that thick. It looks that thick when you put your hands in. The wrist portion of the glove here does kind of have a bigger look to it, and I think it's because it's like all the way around the glove. As you can see, it's not like flat like normal gloves. This kind of has this circle opening here, and all around the glove is pretty decent. I would say within like a third of an inch in padding. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you put your hands on it and your wrist will be in the glove, you will start to understand and notice that it does make your hands and wrist look a little thick. I think it's good for the padding, but the padding itself is pretty dense and pretty strong. Very, very, very protective. And on the inner portion, I would say it cuts a little short, but you know, it doesn't, you don't feel that. So it cuts a little short in terms of how much padding is here. Normally I see, you know, padding go all the way up to the top here. And it's different angled, and I think it's different angled because it has that lace system that's about a 15-degree lace system that's supposed to pretty much be the same size as in the back. So when it comes to this 15-degree lace system, I do like that Rival does it, and I think it's really cool. I think it works. I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think it's the you know, as long as it's a small percentage better than the other version, which is probably just a flat straight line, I think it's all good. You know, I think it's all good. So when it comes to that, I think, you know, it does a really good job with the wrist protection, wrist padding. It keeps your hands in a very, very secure hand position. So I think that that's really, really nice. And you definitely feel that when you put your hands in the glove. Another unique thing about the glove is that this kind of has a webbed look here. This kind of like a webbed thumb attachment. Instead of it being a small thumb attachment, you have this big, thick webbed thumb attachment, and that's like, I feel like that's never gonna come off. And I do really like that. Prevents you from getting any thumb injuries or even thumbing somebody when you're sparring with these with people essentially. So very, very, very good. I do like that about the glove, so I'll keep that in mind as well. Now, When it comes to the things that people probably want to hear more about, I would say that I want to say, I want to get this out of the way. I really love these gloves. Okay, so if I say anything that's a little critical of the gloves, just keep in mind that even if there are things that I'm saying about the gloves that are a little bit critical, I still absolutely love these gloves. So one of the things about these gloves is the mesh palm, right? I've had mesh palm gloves before, and they always get really dirty. They always, if you are sparring in them, they'll get blood on them and they'll turn brown and all these types of things, and you can't clean this. You can't clean this portion of the glove. No matter how much you try, you just can't. So just keep that in mind. It does do, it does make the glove cooler, and I really do appreciate that. But in terms of, overall, I would say the durability is fine, because I don't think I have any problems with any mesh palms in the past. But I always had problems with it basically collecting dirt and grime. It's not like it's just leather and you could wash it off and just basically condition it. Once this gets dirty, it's dirty, and that's the end of it. Now, in terms of the actual grip bar here, it's actually kind of dense, surprisingly. I'm touching it and it has a nice density towards it, and it's not necessarily like a cylinder where it's kind of rolled. It's more of a square or rectangular type of look to it, and I think it does a really good job. I actually really think it feels very well as well. So I think I do a really good job with that as well. So I think that's cool. And in terms of the laces, surprisingly, I've had most gloves that had more holes here. I know this one probably has, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. It's a little light. I would imagine that the gloves are more like 16. I've had some that were 18 in terms of holes on the actual palm side. But I should actually look into that to see if this is kind of lower. It just seems smaller in terms of the portion where you actually cinch this up. But I will say that the laces are normal, and I would say that they are long, which I really love. I think the laces, they don't have too much stretch at all to them, but they have a nice length to them. So it does a good job when it comes to, lacing either the bottom and the top as well. So I think it's a really good job there. Now, in terms of the comfort of the glove, I want to start talking about, as soon as I put this in, this is not that comfortable for me, but I know that that's not a big deal for many people. People probably cut this off, right? But there's a lot of tags here on the end here. I do like tags, but maybe in a more, comfortable way, because sometimes I put the glove on, the tags are kind of hanging out, and it's not a huge deal, but it's noticeable to me. When I put my hands in the glove, it feels like a tricot liner, but it's extremely comfortable. And one thing I notice is instantly how compact it feels. Like my hand is snug in here, and I think that's really nice. It makes me feel really comfortable. And I've also put knuckle guards in as well. And when you put knuckle guards in, I still felt comfortable. I didn't feel it was too tight or anything like that. I felt comfortable. So I do really, really love that. I think that when it comes to the ergonomic True-Fist construction that they were talking about, I think that that's a fantastic, if you just look at the glove, it does give you that feel. So I put my hands in all the way in, and my hands are already in a punch position. I'm not going to open my fist. This is what it looks like without me opening the fist. As you can see, now I'm going to open my hands, and this is what it looks like when it's open for me, and this is what it looks like when it's closed fully. Okay, so we're talking about it's angled downward, and you have a good knuckle position here. So what I've noticed about the gloves is that when I use them, very, 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 very good. I feel very sharp. And what I mean by that is I feel like I'm getting to the portion of or where I need to go, and it's landing really well on the front two knuckles. And because of that, the glove is extremely comfortable. Now, it puts your hands in a fist position. Now, I do prefer my hands in a pretty much in an open position if I'm sparring. These are a sparring glove, but they do a really, really good job at everything. But before I get to that, I want to get to the fact that the thumb is extremely comfortable. I do have some wiggle room in the thumb, so I'm moving my thumb from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. So that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. I think you don't want a choked up thumb where you can't really move it or maneuver it. The hand compartment, like I said, is snug, but it doesn't mean you can't fit anything in here. It's snug, but you obviously could fit some hand guards in here, and then they'll break in the hand compartment through time. So just keep that in mind. Also, the fingertip compartment. I wouldn't say there's like a rolled up piece of anything on the fingertip compartment. It is a very comfortable fingertip. I guess there is a rolled up piece, but your fingers go past. My fingers go past it, and it ends up being in this flat area, and it feels like a softer material, or maybe it's just the liner, but it does a decent job. Like, I wouldn't call it a secondary grip bar, but there is something that's obviously rolled up and covering the stitching area. But ultimately, I think it does a good job. It's not too pronounced, but because of this grip bar on the hand compartment here, it does a good job. I feel it, and it's probably that nice perfect medium in terms of that grip bar. A lot of grip bars can be too big for some people. I like really big grip bars, but ultimately this one is probably right there in the middle. The fingertip compartment, really, really nice. I have no bunching of the fingertips. I think this is a good enough, wide enough space here for my fingers. Keep in mind, I have medium-sized hands. I don't have the largest hands in the world, but just keep that in mind. But I think these gloves fit really well. I could probably fit another inch or so on the fingertip compartment here. So if you have bigger hands, I don't think you have a problem here as well. So keep that in mind. So like I said before, so I'm going to open my hands fully. That's what it looks like. And I'm going to close it. Now, one thing I did notice, and it's another thing that could be a negative to some people, is that the liner on the inside of the finger compartment is moving. So if you're looking for a glove that's going to open up wide like this, right, you're going to have to do some work to get there. And also, you know, because the fingertip compartment is moving, it makes it so if you do push it out, it slowly starts coming back down. And then your fingers end up kind of poking at this portion right here. The fingertips will end up poking here. So just keep that in mind. So these gloves are more tailored for somebody who wants it to be more of in a punch position. You can't have everything when it comes to gloves. I've obviously noticed that. If you want a glove that has more of an open hand or open palm, you're going to probably not have that good hand position or that good fist position like this glove would have. Like, you could see how good that fist position is just by looking at it. So just keep that in mind. You know, there's always give and take when it comes to gloves. This one is more about putting your hands in the right position, opposed to having your hands completely wide open and sparring or anything like that. So if you're somebody who likes to keep their hands in a more fist position, then this is probably your glove. Even if that's the case, this glove, I still really love it, even though my preference is probably more hand open. Now, to put that in perspective, like I said, the hand ergonomics of the glove is really good. Put you in the fist position. Now when let's say a pop test here. I love these gloves. Now, in terms of the loudest glove I've ever had, I'm going to hit a bag. No, it won't be, because ultimately the glove itself is it has pretty thick padding. So if you're looking for like ultimate feedback in which you're feeling it on the knuckles, you're probably not going to get it, because it's ultimately a really, really protective glove. So just keep that in mind. When you have that protective glove, you're going to give up something else, essentially. So I think that the padding here is medium firm. And when I first got them, they were a little bit more on the firm side. Now, as I'm touching the padding, you can see that it's not bouncy. It's not like a latex padding or anything like that. It kind of comes up slowly. There's portions of this glove that feel firmer than other portions, but I would say that I would give it a medium firm, and I would say that you would probably, if this was your go-to glove, it would break down eventually. Eventually, all gloves do, and then you'll get like a nice softer texture of the glove. There's softer gloves out there. Once you put your hands in the glove, like I said before, it's so protective that I can't really feel my knuckles, but it does a good job on the first, layer to make it soft enough for your sparring partner. So it's a perfect protective glove, a perfect sparring glove. In terms of the padding, I think it's very good padding for that, and I think if it'll break down, and it'll break down slowly because the padding is dense. So I do appreciate that. Now I know this is marketed as a sparring glove, and I know that the owner, or they always say you got to get a bag glove, you get a sparring glove. I don't think that's the case with this glove because the padding isn't so soft where I feel like it's going to break down and degrade over time as fast as other gloves. I feel like because the padding is a little bit more dense, you're looking at a glove that has a long life. And it has a really good, I'm not really too worried about a glove just, breaking down so fast. This is not a glove I believe will break down very quickly. I think this is a fantastic glove. I've seen many people use this glove. And it's for a good reason, because at the end of the day, it's a synthetic glove made in China. And you would think that, because of that, people would more, gravitate towards a leather glove because obviously Rival has leather gloves. But people still gravitate towards this glove, and it's for a good reason. So let's keep that in mind. In terms of the pads, fantastic on the pads because of the hand position of the glove. It puts your hands in a nice position, so you're able to really turn over and hit the pads like you want to and give it a nice pop because they're very flat in terms of the punch surface, and it has a good, decently sized punch surface. So that's very, very, very good. In terms of the bags, I feel the same way. There's a few gloves out there that when I use them, I have a really good time using them. This is one of those gloves. When I put them on, I just felt like, I'm having a really fun time putting them on, and I really enjoy them. So I know I have to test out many other gloves, but I've been gravitating towards these gloves because I just have so much fun with them. I feel so sharp with them. When I hit bags, I feel like I'm very sharp with them. So I guess I'm just one of those guys who likes these gloves, and it was unexpected, but it's just is what it is. I can't help what I like. So when it comes to the I would say the price of the glove, it's $225, and then you add shipping and you add tax if you buy them from the Rival website. So it comes out to being, a decent amount of money. You're looking at anywhere between $225 to $250. For synthetic glove, I wish it wasn't the case because it's a synthetic glove. But the performance of the glove, if I didn't know this glove wasn't leather and the performance, I would have no problem paying that kind of money for this glove. But part of me thinks, like, how much did they actually spend making the glove, and how much money are they actually getting for the glove? You know what I mean? Because obviously we're not talking about real leather here, and we're talking about a mesh palm as well. So it's like there's a lot of portions of the glove that you felt like maybe they're skimming, or not skimming, but they saved money on. So $225, I'm fine with it, and I'm actually really happy with my purchase here. Even if it's not real leather, I'm still so happy. So in terms of that, I think it's a fantastic glove, and I don't really have to say much about it because I think it's tried and true that many people think this is a fantastic glove. I just wanted to give my review on the glove. And the reason why I didn't talk about stitching before I leave and end this video is because I didn't find anything really wrong with the stitching. I think this glove has really fantastic stitching. I was thinking that I was going to find something pretty crazy. I did not. So all in all, final thoughts, mesh palm, Not the biggest fan of the mesh palm. I definitely appreciate the fact that it's ventilated, but I'm not a big fan of it. The fingertip compartment, I'm not the biggest fan of the fact that the fingertip compartment is moving. I do not like that. I don't like the liner essentially manipulating my fingers and me swimming in the liner on the fingertips. I do not like that as well. And other than that, you know, I would love to see what these gloves look like in a leather version. If they came up with a leather version of this glove, I would love to see how it does. But ultimately, those are probably the only two negative things I can think about the glove. And I can't fully open my hands, but you can't do that if some gloves you can't do that if it has a good hand position where you're a good punching position. So all in all, fantastic glove. I think I would probably, it's very, very up there for me, and I enjoy these gloves a lot. So that's my review.